Hello, second day with Isaac, Lanzo. Thank you for hosting us one more time.
Of course, my pleasure.
How are you doing today?
Good. Okay.
Good. What you been doing today?
Today, my routine, really, just got up early, have my cup of coffee, listen to music, a little bit of writing, a little bit of reading. Part of what I do on the days that I don't work. When I
And
go to work, then I'm at work.
can you introduce the place where we at?
Well, we are in the Bronx, New York. We're in the North Bronx. This would be my studio space where I work, where I live, where I sleep.
And is that the only city that you've been living in the US?
I've always been in New York. Never lived anywhere else when in the States. I've lived in Brooklyn for a little while growing up, and I've been here in the Bronx. That's it.
But did you travel around the US?
Never. I visited Pennsylvania once or twice. I been to New Jersey, just passing through, to visit
Like,
family member or something. But beyond that, no, I've been to upstate New York, to do certain activities, but that's about it. I'm not well traveled, only in my mind through the books and things like
and would
that.
you like to go in other city?
I'm curious. I think that when you're younger, you're much more willing to do that or want to do that, have the desire to do that. I think that for me, I just want to be able to find a place. It's nice and quiet. I like the idea of leaving the city and going upstate New York, maybe, just being around nature and trees, or going back to Puerto Rico. Or if I stay in New York, go to like upstate New York, just be more around green, nature,
But
trees.
you want to go back in Puerto Rico, like definitely?
Yeah, to
Or
live, yeah. Someday, maybe.
because the life is better in Puerto Rico?
I don't want to say it's better. It's different. I think that New York is either for a young person, for a wealthy person, or for a young wealthy person.
Okay.
But long term, to retire here and live here, no. Especially if my economic circumstances stay the same, I honestly think it's better to be poor in Puerto Rico than to be poor in New York. I
You
would
prefer New York or Puerto Rico?
prefer Puerto Rico. I think I have better memories from childhood, growing up there. I think that anytime I were to compare the best memories here and the best memories there, at least for me personally, there. Now, I have great memories here that are not necessarily just mine, because then there's the memories that I built with my family, with my girls. They're all here because they were basically all their lives here. So then would I trade those memories? No. I cherish those memories with my kids here. But for me personally, my personal memory, that's Puerto Rico hands down. I lived like a short walk on the beach. I remember my grandfather and my uncle taking me to cockfights, illegal cockfights, mind you. So you got this kid around
Mm.
all of these adults and all this screaming and all this fun going on and the music and the food, and me as a kid participating in all those things. Yeah, I honestly think that I have better memories there.
It's interesting that you are talking about memories because the next question is, what's your favorite memories in New York?
My best
Ah,
memories in New York involve my children because, for instance, we met in Union Square, 14th Street. Every year from November to December, they have these little stores and kiosks and little eateries that they have. And some of my best memories involve doing that with my kids as they were growing up, going to the park, taking them to school as little kids. And when I would go pick them up and they scream, Dad, because they grew up here. So I would say that my top 10 memories involve my family, really. So it's not so much the place, it's really the people.
what's the artistic expression mean for you?
Artistic expression, it's a necessity. It means everything to me, and because there are other things above it, but it's something that I can't do without. Imagine when somebody says, well, maybe you should do something else, right? Okay. When I hear that, it's like somebody telling me, you know what, why don't you go without eating for the rest of your life? Or don't ever drink water again, right? So you can imagine that would be crazy, somebody to tell you that. So for me, when somebody might say, try something different, try to make money, try to give it up, And I've proven to myself that I can't do that. That it is very much like eating or drinking, right? Or imagine somebody saying, you know what, I'm never going to use the bathroom again. It's not going to go well for that person, right? So it's kind of like that. So self-expression in this way, in terms of having to create something, is a necessity. I have to. We human beings, we have basic necessities: food, water, air, right? We need a roof over our head. We need clothing over our. For me personally, that's an add-on necessity for me. Something I cannot do without. There's no retirement from it. I will do it till I'm 100, my very last breath if I can, with a brush in my hand. It's an absolute necessity. If I could flip a switch, turn it off, do something else where I can make a better living for myself and for my family, instantly would do it, because it's not practical. Being an artist is not a practical thing. That's why we're seen as crazy a little bit. And maybe we are. Maybe you have to be in order to like do this for the rest of your life nonstop. There's no guarantee that my work will ever mean anything to anybody. Expression, in that sense, as of artistic expression, is a way of communicating. It's to say to communicate. Expressing yourself, but ultimately you're expressing an idea or a feeling or a combination of, right? So it's a form of communication. When an artist makes something, yeah, primarily may start making it for himself, but eventually it's about someone else seeing it and you communicating. It's like anything that is made in art, whether it's a painting, poem, sculpture, it's like the middleman between me and the viewer, or a bridge that connects one piece of land to the other where people cross and meet. I try not to concentrate too much on me expressing myself too much, because I don't want to put too much of myself in the work. If anything, as I get older and I do it, less about me and more about being able to connect with another human being in some way, shape, or form.
How long time do you take to finish an artwork?
No specific time. And it's funny because I could take there's two paintings, same size, same materials. One could take 4, 5, 6 days. The other could take 4, 5, 6 weeks. And you might look at it and it's doesn't look like one, you walk more on the other. Sometimes things just kind of work out and you find your way a little quicker. Others take just a little longer. And others I just have to completely scrape and start over, or give up on that one. Just
Is that more easier to say that an artwork is finished when it's for someone else or when it's for you?
no, for me, it's easier for me to paint self-portraits in that sense, because it's me, it's my face, right? I could experiment, I could do whatever, and it's my face. So in that sense, it feels easier. But in terms of painting it, in terms of time, that's a whole other thing. I could take longer doing a self-portrait or take shorter amount of time. Whether it's my face or someone else's or whatever, that's a whole other thing. They shouldn't affect how much time I take doing these pictures, because my aim in that particular time is not to get a realistic and exact thing. It's more like an oil sketch, and that's what I'm aiming for. And then I've done same size small oil painting of a self-portrait. It's taking me 3 days, or it's taking me 4 days.
Every artwork on IG,
hmm
they accomplished.
At the moment, but I still possess them, so I could have the freedom to do whatever. And I've done that. I've had paintings that I look at them for years and I think they're all right, and then one day I wake up, you know what? This is not so good. There's a painting that I donated. I donated a painting to this. It's a place where they treat abused women and children. And I donated this painting. I forget the department. It's here in the Bronx. I had done the very first version and it remained like that for years. And then I did a second painting, but still using the same image over that one. And years later, I did a third version, still basically the same flower painting, but basically changed around the mood and the colors and the texture. That was like, I think of a span of 12 years. So officially, it took me 3 versions of painting on top of painting to finish. And who God knows, if I had never donated it, maybe a few more years later, I would have done a 4th version. And if you see the portraits, you see the different influences. Modernist European influences, classical influences, some of my cultural background, Taino, European, and African mix. of influences, and I take whatever feels right for me.
Do you have a favorite medium?
Medium, oil. I try acrylics and so on. Acrylics dries too quickly for me, and I like taking my time. I like being able to do a painting in days or weeks if necessary. And I think the more I mature, the better I get with paint. Actually, the longer I want to take, rather than shortening the time. You would think, oh, you're getting better, but so you think it'd be less time. No, the more I get better, the more time I want to take on a painting.
Why is not Lanzo Isaac the poet,
Mhm.
but Lanzo Isaac the painter?
It's difficult to say too because I think I do it in a way because I kind of have to do it. You ever felt like someday you wake up in the morning, like your head seems like somebody was squishing it in, and it's like I feel pressure. So that's what I feel like if I don't paint and I don't write. And it's to the point where physically, I get affected. You wake up, none of this waking up at noon, having a coffee, going out to friends, and supposedly paint for an hour, and then call yourself a painter or an artist or whatever. Some people do that and they feel like they're still an artist. That's well, that's their right to believe that. But an artist goes to work. You wake up and you do your hours. You don't always have to do 8-hour days, 9 to 5, something like that. But you work every day, no matter how you feel. This whole thing that you have to feel inspired or whatever. Now those moments do come, and you work. But the next day when it doesn't, I go to work because it's not about the feeling. Work is about doing the work and discovering each day what you're doing and learning more in the process. So this whole idea of inspiration, I don't like it too much really.
So you are inspired by work, then?
Again, it's just that word inspire. It's like, for instance, I go to my job. I'm not inspired to go to my job, but I do the work. You go to work. It's kind of the same thing. I know that's not the same kind of work exactly. There's certain differences, but I wake up desiring to do the work. In this case, this is art. It's different. It's a passion, an obsession, love-hate relationship. You might say also, but it's work, and you go to work every day. Inspiration comes here and there, but most of the time, inspiration is not there. But the desire to do the work is there. But also the person, how he decided to concentrate on beauty and the positive in spite of all the suffering, and how he put it out there. That whole idea of Van Gogh inspires me. How his brushwork, the beauty of the texture of everything. Yeah, that's something that stayed with me because texture in painting is very.
How did you discover Van Gogh?
The very first time I was in Puerto Rico, that was maybe a couple of years before I came to New York, and I went to this small art store in San Juan. I saw this image of this book of a Van Gogh, and I never had seen colors like that before, ever, and it was alien to me. And then after that, it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years later that I come here to New York. I go to a library nearby here, and not only I see Van Gogh, I see all of these different artists: Picasso, Van Gogh, the Renaissance artists, and then I see artists that I kind of knew about, like Rembrandt, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, but I had never seen books and never seen all these works. So you could say it was a bit of an overdose for me, to seeing all of that all at once and thinking that, wait a minute, libraries had these things. So I'm thinking back in my childhood, all this time this was here.
Is Van Gogh the only one who inspired you as an artist?
I would say it's quite a long list of painters, but I think that he kind of stays the number one influence, not only because of the work, but because of the work that he did in spite of what was happening to him and around him and so on. So for that reason, he's very important. Not just because of the work that he did, just beautiful, but the fact that he went through so much, but he still did beautiful work. He didn't concentrate on the darkness and of his life, the suffering and so on. But there are many others that are at the top of that list, and it ranges from different eras. Rembrandt, Modigliani, some abstract painters, the French realists. It's really a long list of individual artists and movements that definitely inspire me, to use that word, but that I learn from, that I'm always learning from. And there are some contemporary artists today that also inspire me. I don't know if you've ever heard of painters like Nerdrum. He's a painter. He's an old man now, but he has pupils. and his pupils. Some of them are even younger than me, and I'm learning from them as I make adjustments to applying certain techniques. So I'm always learning. And there's a lot of different painters, past and present, that you could say inspire me.
And what's your top three artists?
If I had to pick top three, then definitely Van Gogh, Rembrandt. Now that third position, that's tough. Turner. I like the atmosphere in his later works, and sometimes I try to capture a little bit of that too.
From what country Turner is from?
From England, he's a British painter. Van Gogh, Rembrandt, Turner.
Top three is European.
Yeah, because I'm more into this classical thing, It's funny because I discovered more art here in New York, in the libraries, and that was the majority of the books there. So you could say that there's, by default, I was early on much more influenced by them.
Yeah, by artists that they already in the story.
Exactly, already there in the libraries.
Okay.
Right? So there's that, right? And of course, we see that that's also in culture, that's what's most promoted. You go to the trains,
Okay.
there's a special show coming, there's a Van Gogh exhibition. They hype this stuff up. So you could say it's a little bit of culture, is the fact that a time and a place, right? The libraries, that's what they mostly had. Van Gogh, Picasso. Like, you could get multiple books on Picasso, multiple books on this. You go to Barnes and Nobles, you got all kinds of books. Like, for every one alternative art, you have like 20 Picassos, 17 Matisse, and so on and so forth. So it could be some of that too, as well. It's just so happened to be what was available. And then, but as I get older, as I've gotten older, I'm much more aware of my background. So this is where you see some of the portraits where there's the Taino-African mix, into these portraits. Right there, right behind you, the portrait of my mom, just right above you. 2 portraits of my daughters, and the one right above you is a portrait of my mother. So I guess with age, with time, I become much more aware. And maybe because I want to go back to Puerto Rico, the older I get, the more conscious I become of my own culture as well. But without leaving the European either. If anything, I want to find a middle ground where I can combine them perfectly somehow, if possible.
I know that you're Puerto Rican. When was the last time you've been in Puerto Rico?
2016, yeah. That was the last time I was there. I spent like 2 weeks just to visit and see family and just wet my feet on the beach and eat. I got fat over there. It's like everybody wants to feed you. When you visit family members wherever, they just want to stuff food into you, you know what I mean? And I didn't complain either. It was great going back there and being able to listen to how Spanish is spoken. There's very different than to hear people who are from there here. They speak differently. The smells, the sounds, even the sun feels different somehow, if that's possible. Maybe it's just more psychological, different.
All art is perceived in Puerto Rico. All your family perceive it.
I really don't have much conversation with family about that, honestly. And if they think it's not a real job, they don't really tell me. So I don't really know. And if they do, that's great. If they don't, it doesn't really change my behavior. It doesn't really matter to me. Like I told you before, it's not just something that I want to do. It's something that I have to do. So it doesn't make a difference to me. Now, if they do, they think positively that it is real work, which it is, then that's fine. I treat it like real work. I treat it with respect. I work on it every day. I may skip a day here and there. So maybe I'm too tired from work or something. But even then, when I come back from work, I at least spend an hour or two, whether it's painting.
There is famous artists in Puerto Rico that you can quote?
There's not a lot available, a lot of information available, for one. And a lot of the work that is available there is European-centric. Now, there is the other things in terms of Taino and African culture, but Taino is like the indigenous people of Puerto Rico. There is some art in terms of them, but it's more music, language, but not a lot of visual art based on that. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever had seen, let's say, a painting or something in Puerto Rico that was contemporary, or any sculpture that was contemporary that reflected that culture while I was there. Now, right now, presently, I don't know. And if there is, it's sad that I don't know because it's not being promoted.
In your opinion, in what country there is more opportunities, USA or Puerto Rico?
Definitely the U.S. Opportunities here, and do whatever I need to do here, so that whatever I obtain, maybe take it with me. If I go back, it's not because I think there's better opportunity for art or work or money or whatever it may be. No, I think that over there is just a slower pace of life. It's calmer. Tired of dealing with winter in New York in January, February, all that jazz. And it's just a much slower life. And I always felt like Puerto Rico is home to me. I was born here. I was raised between both places. But Puerto Rico has always felt like home to me. That's the main reason. In order to go there, once I do decide to go and settle there, let's say my daughters, once they're done with college and perhaps they're married and whatnot, then I'll go. If the opportunity comes. I mean, I have the desire to go. That's one of the options for me to go. But then again, it may never happen. I'm open to the idea of staying here or going somewhere else rather than going to Puerto Rico. It's not, for me, it's not set in stone.
At what frequency do you produce art, and what's the perfect condition for Lanzo to produce?
That's,
You need music
yeah, I like music. I like listening to music.
during.
During painting, yeah. Sometimes I need to hear just noise. So let's say I'll put a YouTube video of an interview.
Podcast.
It could be art related or whatever, but an interview. And it's not like I'm really paying attention. It's just like I need noise, but I need solitude. So I don't want people to come in around and try to have a conversation. Sometimes I just need noise. Sometimes I need music or want music. So it's not so much the need; it's more like the want. And
What's the frequency?
when I was young, I thought it was good to do like a painting per day because I was doing very expressionistic work where you could just do a painting in a day and that's it, right? And it didn't matter so much that I had to let it dry and so on. But as I gotten older and I want to do certain things, I don't have the same energy anymore. That's another thing. It takes me longer, but also because I'm also making a little bit of a transition from a modernist principle to a more classical principle and technique.
I was searching on your IG
Mhm.
and I saw a photography of you on the rooftop.
Yeah, that was like from time to time. Like I would just want to, let me see what I'm able to do, doing something plein air. It was more to enjoy being outside and doing something art related. I'm not really a plein air painter. It's just something to do once in a while.
Is the rooftop far from here?
No, it's actually nearby, but I can't go up there anymore because the person that used to live there no longer lives there.
At what moment you was looking up like business?
So in the beginning that I started teaching myself to paint, I understood that this was, this is what I'm gonna do. I want to be a painter. I want to prefer. I want to exhibit. So pretty much from the beginning.
What artists mean to you? A job or a state of mind?
Yeah. If I had to pick, it's a state of mind. Because even if I don't ever make a living or exhibit, I'm still gonna do it. I'm not interested in being a quote unquote famous artist. What does that mean? I want to be a good artist. I want to be great as the years go by. I want to get better at what I do. Fame or not, money or not, I'm gonna do it. It's dry. What day is today?